Welcome back to Already Overbooked. My name's Josh, and today we're jacking into the neon drenched dystopian world of Fallen into Oblivion, the very first book in the Tendrils of Chrome series by the great Aaron M. Page. If you're a fan of gritty, cyberpunk worlds, high stakes detective thrillers, and stories that make you question how far humanity should go with technology, then this story is for you. This book is dripping with cyberpunk vibes like Blade Runner meets Altered Carbon, and it doesn't hold back. But is Fallen into Oblivion the breakout cyberpunk thriller of the year? Or does it trip over its modded feet trying to run with the big dogs? Stick around as I break down the plot, the characters, the writing styles, the themes, and of course the pros and cons. So let's jump in. All right, let's dive into the plot of Fallen into Oblivion. It's set in a dystopian sprawl of Nox City, in a place where corruption, technology, and decay collide. This story follows Detective Saul Harkins. Saul is a man out of place in a world obsessed with body modifications, or moddies as they're called in the story, while everyone around him embraces technological enhancements to boost their abilities. Saul remains unmodded, relying solely on his instincts and his wit. When a series of mysterious deaths start cropping up, all linked to a manufacturing moddies that cause permanent brain damage, and Saul is called in to investigate. These aren't just freak accidents. There's something bigger and darker and sinister at play. As Saul starts to dig deeper, he starts uncovering a web of conspiracies that stretch from the corporate elite controlling the city to the very streets he's trying to protect. The stakes escalate when Saul then realizes that the very tech designed to enhance humanity is being now weaponized to exploit and destroy it. It's really a race against time as Saul battles not just the shadowy figures behind the conspiracy, but also the crumbling societal fabrics of Nox City itself. So now let's jump and talk a little bit about the characters. I've already kind of mentioned Saul is a bit of an anomaly in Nox City. He's unmodified, which in a world where everyone is plugged in to some kind of enhancements really makes him stand out. But this isn't just a gimmick for Saul. Saul's refusal is to embrace body Saul's refusal to embrace body modifications really reflects his deep skepticism of the system and the society around him. He's principled, resourceful, he's sharp. He really likes to rely on old school detective skills like observation and deductive reasoning rather than some flashy tech. And what makes Saul such a engaging character is his inner conflict. He's navigating a world that's rapidly leaving people like him behind. And while he wants to resist, he's constantly faced with the question, does staying unmodified put me at a disadvantage? So Saul's journey isn't just about solving cases, it's about going through and holding on to his humanity in a world that's increasingly mechanicalized. Then there's the antagonist. Without giving too much away, let's just say the conspiracy Saul's uncovering is deeply tied to corporate elites of Nox City. There's these aren't just mustache twirling villains. They're the embodiment of systematic greed and corruption, exploiting the very technology people have come to depend on. Their modification highlight the dangerous interplay of power, technology, and morality, really going through and forcing Saul to not only outsmart them, but to question really the entire system. And while Saul is the heart of the story, there are some side characters bringing the world to life. We meet allies who show us different perspectives and body modifications. Some see the modifications as essential for survival, while others view them as traps. But each interaction forces Saul to confront his own bias and adapt to the realities of a fractured tech driven society. Together, the cast creates really a dynamic world that feels authentic and layered. Each character serves as a mirror, reflecting different aspects of the world and a moral dilemma that really helps drive the story. Now, let's jump into Aaron Payne's writing style. From the very first page, you are immersed in a dark, atmospherical world. The prose are sharp, cinematic, perfect for a story set in a neon soaked dystopian of Nox City. One of Payne's really greatest strength is his world building through details. Now, he doesn't bombard you with exposition dumps or overly technological descriptions or anything like that. Instead, the details of Nox City unfolds organically through Saul's perspective. The gritty alleyways, the manufacturing tech, and the ever present divide between the elites and the desperate. You honestly start feeling like you're walking those rain slick streets right alongside of Saul. The pacing of the book is relentless. Aaron uses short and punchy sentences during action sequences, which helps keep the tension high and the stakes immediate. But he also knows when to slow things down a little bit, giving us moments of reflection that reveals more than about Saul's inner struggles and the decaying world around him. It's a delicate balance between pulse pounding emergencies and emotional depth, and Payne really handles it very, very well. Aaron's use of dialogue is another highlight. His conversations are snappy, realistic, and often sprinkled with sarcasm and wit, which brings the characters really to life. Saul, in particular, has a voice that feels very authentic. He's cynical yet determined. He's weary but not defeated. The dialogue also serves as a vehicle for exploring the book's larger themes, with characters debating the morality of body modifications and the ethical boundaries of technological advancements. The final thing that I want to go through and mention is Aaron's ability to evoke emotions through settings and atmosphere is worth mentioning. Nox City isn't just a backdrop, it's a living, breathing force in the story. The way Aaron goes through and describes the flickering neon lights, the cold, unfeeling tech, and the sophisticating sense of decay creates a mood that's much as part of the story as the characters are themselves. It's a writing style that doesn't just tell you what's happening, it makes you feel what's happening. It's done so, so well. Now, the themes and the tones fallen into oblivion. Aaron doesn't just give us a futuristic detective story. He uses it as a way to explore some pretty heavy topics that resonate far beyond the pages. One of the central themes is the cost of technological progress. In Nox City, body modifications are marketed as really the key to a better, more advanced life. But beneath that shiny exterior lies a dark truth. These enhancements are really tools of control, manipulation, and inequality. And the novel will go through and ask, at what point does technology stop serving humanity and start enslaving it? It's it's a big cautionary tale about reliance on tech and how it can be weaponized by those in power. The novel also touches on identity and choice, which examines how much of ourselves we're willing to sacrifice for the sake of convenience, safety, or survival. Saul's refusal to modify himself isn't just a personal preference. It's really, like I mentioned earlier, a stand against a world that demands conformity. His journey forces us to think about how our choices define us and whether resisting societal norms is an act of courage or vainness. There's also an underlying theme of corruption and societal decay. Like I mentioned previously, Nox City isn't just a setting, it's a character in its own way. The city has crumbling infrastructure, rampant crime, corporate greed, reflects the systematic issues that really plague this dystopian world. It's a place where powerful people profit from the suffering of the vulnerability, and the themes of inequality is really woven all through this story. In terms of tone, this book is unapologetically dark and gritty. Nox City is bleak, unforgiving place where danger lurks really around any corner. There's a sense of constant tension and paranoia, and the novel doesn't shy away from showing harsh realities of a society on the brink of collapse. There's also, of course, the tone that captures the classic noir cyberpunk vibe, has a mix of despair, rebellion, and really uneasy hope. All right, let's break down now the pros and the cons of falling into Oblivion. We'll start with the pros, of course. First and foremost, the world building is exceptional. Aaron crafts Nox City as a living, breathing entity. It's gritty. It's neon lit. It's brimming with atmosphere. The city doesn't just feel like a setting, it feels like a character in its own way, with every corner hiding secrets and dangers, which I really, really enjoyed. The central mystery is genuinely compelling. The detective modifications and the conspiracy behind them keeps you guessing, and the story's twist and turns makes it hard to put the book down. It's not just solving a case, it's about uncovering layers of corruption that feel both futuristic and unsettlingly familiar. Saul is a standout character as well. His morally complexity and unmodified status make him relatable and intriguing in a world that's obsessed with tech advancements. The last thing is the action sequences are a major highlight. These scenes add a lot of adrenaline to the story while keeping it grounded in the stakes of mystery. Now, some potential cons: while Saul is an excellent protagonist, some of the side characters don't feel as fleshed out. They serve their roles in the plot, but they're not as memorable or layered as you might hope. This can make some interactions feel more functional than emotional. If you're a seasoned reader of cyberpunk or mystery novels, some of the plot twists might feel a little predictable. While the execution is solid, the broader beats of the story follow very familiar territories in these types of genres. And while Aaron's execution of Cyberpunk's aesthetics is excellent, the book does lean heavily on familiar tropes of the cyberpunk genre. So if you're looking for something that reinvents cyberpunk, you might find Fallen into Oblivion more of a homage than a fresh take into the genre. Now, on to my final recommendations. Fallen into Oblivion is a solid entry into the cyberpunk genre, one that's thrilling, it's immersive, and it's packed with enough action and atmosphere to keep you hooked from start to finish. I ended up rating this story a 7 out of 10. I really, really liked this book. Fallen into Oblivion is a fast paced, noir infused detective thriller that is a ride you won't want to miss. And with it being the first book in the series, it's very clear there's much more to come in this haunting neon lit world. And I, for one, cannot wait to see where Aaron Payne takes us next. All right, that's it for today's review. If you've read Fallen into Oblivion or if it's on your radar, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do. Until I see you in the next one.